So I think we can start. Okay. Just as a means of introduction, can we just introduce ourselves? Can we put on your video on Lydia? Just introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, where you're joining us from, and why you who referred you for this training, and why you want to participate in this training. Let's start with you, Mutala.
Good afternoon. My name is Abubakar Murtala. I'm from Zaria. I'm also a student of computer science in Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria.
Okay.
Yes, I wanted to join this lesson in order to Hello? Please, can you hear me?
Yeah,
we can.
Go ahead.
I wanted to join this lesson to increase my knowledge of R programming in particular, to expand my knowledge in data science.
Okay. So
and
I
found out about this particular program through my father.
Okay.
He referred me to it.
Okay. Actually, Mutala's dad was my classmate in medical school. Okay, so let's go to Lydia.
Okay, I'm Lydia Usman. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, I'm Lydia Usman. I enrolled for R because I want to build my career in data analysis and research.
Okay.
So I was referred by my elder brother, Dr. Steve Ghana.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Lydia.
Thank you.
Coincidentally, Dr. Ghana was also my classmate in medical school, so welcome. Solomon just joined us. Solomon, can you introduce yourself? Tell us where you're joining us from and why you're part of this training.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Can you put on your video for now so we can see your face?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
In case you go out, fill up.
Okay.
And drop key.
Okay, thank you so much, ma.
Solomon, if your video is not coming on, just go ahead and introduce yourself.
I think it is. I'm trying to link it to my system.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if my video is on now.
Yes, we can see you now.
I'm Solomon Doga, Dr. Doga. I am joining in from Kebbi, currently in Ga. I happen to have an interest in data analysis, and then I'm having bias in public health as a medical doctor. So I feel joining the program will prepare me better for the task ahead. So that's the reason why I am joining the training. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I actually just met Dr. Doga in a training we went to facilitate in Kebbi State. And yeah, he is an enthusiastic person about data analysis, and we share the same interest. So yeah, so Dr. Doga, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so I think we should just go ahead and start. Did you watch the videos, Dr. Doga?
Yes, I watched part of it. The other one was not coming up, so but I watched it.
Okay, fine. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. Okay, so this is what we will do in the next couple of minutes. Okay, you can still see my screen. You can see this Word document here.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So this is what we'll be covering up today. We're going to look at R basics. So first of all, I think we've done number one, which is to download and install R and R Studio in our systems, and I appreciate their difference. So that the number two is to describe the 4 quadrants of R Studio window, and I appreciate their functions. We'll also look at how to understand the concepts of objects, functions, and packages in R. Then we'll go to define the characteristics of a tidy data in R. We'll identify special operators in R and their functions. We'll create an R project, open and save a new R script. We'll install packages in R Studio. We'll import data into R Studio. We'll then enumerate the steps in data management in R. And then probably if we have some time, we would have a small quiz at the end. Okay, so without wasting much of our time, like I said, we've looked at number one. I assume everyone now has R and R Studio in their systems. So the difference between R and R Studio is R is like using a car to describe R is like the engine of the car, while R Studio gives the engine functionality. So the engine is R, and then R Studio will be maybe like the steering wheel, the gear, the seats, all those paraphernalia that enable you to use the car. But actually what's doing the work is the engine. So that's the same thing of R and R Studio. R is actually the backbone. R Studio is just like a platform that gives us a user-friendly environment where we can work on R. So that's just basically the difference between the two. Then R Studio has 4 quadrants, and I believe every one of us here has seen the 4 different quadrants. But I'm going to share my screen so that we can, I'm going to share my R Studio screen so that we can look at the 4 different quadrants. So if you have opened your R Studio, you will have something that looks like what you're seeing on my screen. So there are 4 different quadrants. The first one here, where my cursor is quadrant 1. The second one is quadrant 2, just below. The third one is quadrant 3, and the fourth one is quadrant 4. These numbers are significant. I'm not just giving them arbitrarily. The numbers have functions that they will serve as we keep going. So this is number 1. The second one below it is quadrant 2. The third one beside quadrant 2 is quadrant 3. And then the fourth one here is quadrant 4. Okay, so this first one, quadrant 1, is called the source quadrant. And that's where you do all your work. That's where you type all your commands. That's where all your instructions, all your codes are given in R. Number 2, which is the console, is the place that translates all your code. So whatever code you type in quadrant 1, you will see it translated in quadrant 2, and then as well, it will also give you the results of that code. So quadrant 2, which is the console, gives you the translation of the code, which means it replicates whatever code you've typed here into this place, and then it will also give you the results of that code. So for example, let's assume I type, what's it called now? 4 plus 2. And I click Control Enter. You can see in the console, it first of all types the command, which is 4 plus 2, and then just below it, it gives me the answer, which is 6. So that's how it works. If I type again, for example, 50 divided by, where is divided by now? 50 divided by 10, where are you? 50 divided by 10. So this sign here is the division sign. So 50 divided by 10, and I press Control Enter. It brings down the code I have typed, which is 50 divided by 10. And then on the next line, it gives me the answer, which is 5. So that's how the second quadrant works. The third quadrant, which is quadrant 3, this one here, it has, if you look at it, has files, it has plots, it has packages, it has help, it has viewer. Files is the tab where all your documents regarding any particular projects that you're working on is being stored neatly in. So there might be scripts, there might be Word documents, there might be pictures of your graphs, whatever thing that concerns that particular project, R neatly stores them in this place. Plots, number 2, is where any graphical representation, any graph that you plot in R, if you give the command of any graph in the source quadrant here, you see that graph being plotted in this plots tab here. So that's where all your graphical representations happen. Packages. R works with packages. I'm going to talk about packages a little bit later. But all the packages that you have that are accessible to you in R are listed in this place. So you can easily know which package that R is available for you in R under this packages tab. Help is a very important tab where whatever thing that you do not understand in R, whatever thing you need more information in, you can easily find it in help. And how do you do that? You just come to the source code and then you type in your question mark. Let's assume I want to know about the select function. So I just type question mark and select, and then I'll click Control Enter. And then you can see in the help, it gives me some information. So it tells me select is a function that is found in 2 different packages. It is found in the dplyr package and also found in the GT summary package. So the one I want to see is the one in dplyr package. So I click dplyr, and then it defines what select is for me. Where is it now? Sorry, let me minimize this so that we can see. Dplyr version. What is this? Okay, so select here, let's see. Okay, so it just tells me about select. You can see, and then tells me how to use select. It tells me about the helpers that select uses and everything. So this is where you find out information about whatever thing that you don't understand. Okay, then the last tab, which is viewer, it gives us the tabular representation of a particular package we call GT summary. So if I type a code and I use the tables in GT summary package, it will show forth in this place. As time goes on, we'll see how that happens. The fourth quadrant, which is quadrant 4 here, has environment. Environment is where R stores any object. It's using objects, data sets, data frames are stored in this place. So as we go on, we'll see how that happens. So those are the 4 quadrants that are available to us in R Studio and how we use them. So number 3, we want to understand the concept of objects, functions, and packages. Okay, so I'm going to use tools to describe what I mean by packages. Okay, so assume this is a package. A package is like a collection of functions. So let me use, for example, a carpenter, for example. A carpenter has his box of tools. Within that box, you have different tools that can do different functions. So that box of tools is what we call a package. And then the tools within that box are what we call functions. So a package is like a toolbox that contains functions, which are the tools. So this picture you're seeing right now is an example of a package. And then this one now shows when you open up that toolbox, which is the package, you now start seeing different tools in it. So each of these tools represents a particular function in R. For example, let's go back to our R Studio. For example, there is a package we call dplyr in R. Dplyr is the package, and within the dplyr package, you have tools like, or you have, we call them functions. We have functions like select, filter, mutate, group by, summarize. So there's some other ones, but these are the common functions that are within the dplyr package. So this is the toolbox, which is the package. And then these are the tools within the toolbox, which are called functions. So package and functions. So that's what package and functions mean in R. This session is going to end in 10 minutes. As soon as it ends, you will receive the new link so that you can rejoin the next session. Okay. Okay, so that's packages and functions. And then objects, on the other hand, are whatever thing you create in R. Let's assume you have a data set that you want to import in R. Once you import it in R, you can assign it to an object. Or you want to store for example, this thing that we did here, this 4 + 2. Let's assume we want to say my age, for example. My age is equal to 30. So not equal to, sorry, we use an assignment. We'll look at operators in a short while, but I'm using what I call an assignment operator. That is this sign. So I am assigning 30 as my age. So if I click enter, control enter, you can see in the environment, I have created an object, which is my age, and the value of my age is 30. I can also say your age. I put in my assignment operator is 58. And I click control enter. If you look here again, I've created another object called your age, and the value is 58. So I can say here, let me use what's it called now? My age plus your age. You can see because your age has been created as an object in R. Once I start typing YOU, R already starts predicting that I am typing your age. So I can just click it here instead of typing it fully. So my age plus your age, if I click, let's say I assign that to total age. So total age, I'm assigning that to the sum of my age and your age. If I click Control Enter, you can see in the environment, I've also created another object, which is called total age, and the value is 88, which is the sum of 30 and 58. So these are objects. If I import a data set into R, I can assign it to an object, and it will appear in this environment as an object. So those are objects, functions, and packages. So let's move to the next topic here. It says define the characteristics of a tidy data in R. Okay, so R usually likes working with what we call a tidy data. And a tidy data in R has three characteristics. Number one is all variables, or should I say each variable? Each variable has a column. Number two is that each observation has a row. And number three is that each value has a cell. Okay, so these are the three characteristics of what R calls a tidy data. Each variable has a column, each observation has a row, and each value has a cell. Now let us look at a typical data set in R. So let's say view. R has inbuilt in it certain data sets that you have access to use for your practice. And once you've installed R Studio and you installed some packages, you have access to those data sets. So let's assume if my favorite is called Star Wars, it's a data set in R. So this, you don't need to import it, it's already available for you. So if I click View Star Wars and I press Control Enter, now let me enlarge this. Okay, so this is a data set. It's called Star Wars. You can see it has columns. Can we put our speakers on mute so that we don't interfere with our sound? Okay, so it has columns. So this is a column, this is a column, this is a column, and then it has rows. So each vertical line is a column, each horizontal line is a row. So the concept of tidy data in R says each variable. Now the first line in the rows is usually where we have the variable names. So these names that are ticking, they are the variables within this particular data set. So we have variable number one is name, number two is height, number three is mass, hair color, skin color, eye color, etc., etc. So each of these is a variable, and each variable has its own column. So name has its column, height has its column, mass, hair color, each of them have their column. That's number one principle of a tidy data. Number two is each observation has a row. So this number one now is an observation that has name, has a height, has a mass, has hair color. So this whole horizontal line is one observation. So each observation has its own row. That's the tidy data concept number two. Number three is that each value has a cell. So each of these small boxes is a cell. All these small, let's say this box of blue is a cell, and whatever is inside it is called a value. So each value has its own cell. So blue is a value, and this is the cell that contains blue. 64.0 is a value, and this is the cell that contains 64.0. So that's basically what the principle of, what was it called now? The principle of a tidy data. Okay, so when I was telling us about this quadrant, and I mentioned that each of them, the numbering is very important. So this is why I said the numbering is important. So for example, if I want to zoom into a particular quadrant, let's say I want to zoom into quadrant 1, I can press Control Shift and number 1, and then it zooms into that quadrant for me. If I want to go back to the 4 quadrants, I press the same Control Shift number 1, and it comes back to the 4 quadrants. If I want to zoom into quadrant 2, I press Control Shift and number 2. Now it has zoomed into quadrant 2. And then if I want to come back to the 4 quadrants, I also click the same Control Shift number 2, and it brings me back to the same 4 quadrant. So that's the importance of those numbering of the quadrants. So you can zoom into a quadrant and zoom out by pressing Control Shift and the number of that quadrant. Okay, so the time is up. This session will stop by itself now. I'm going to log us into the next session immediately after the session is out. It will log off now because I can see the time says less than a minute.